Misn qila kasla slilako. Nugam kasla skak la muskuma zawadino. First of all, thank you, Creator, for this moment. And I'm Kaslas, my traditional name, and I'm from the Muskuma Zawadino First Nations. And right now I'm talking about, physical wellness connected to our culture and our mental wellness and aging. And I guess when I think about that subject area, it's hard to not qualify whatever I'm going to say from a holistic point of view, where we mention physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual connections and who we are in our total being. So firstly, I'll talk with the cultural and spiritual aspects of my personal growth. And I really was molded, and the foundation was built when I was a young boy in our little village called King Kamilit, our Muskama village. And for the first 6 years of my life, what I experienced was, the connection to the land and the river, the mountains, the nature was just there and without definition. And then I started to experience activities in the village where it started to demonstrate those relationships, and that's where our ceremonies come into play. The references made to potlatches and aging come into play, and there again it helps me now understand the relationship that we have with Mother Nature and all the teachings and medicines that it provides. And as a young boy, it was very active when I was in my young days. And get to know the river and get to know nature translated into other, other teachings for me at the time. A simple example is that going into the river itself, the river is fed by 2 glaciers and it's always wonderfully cold. And so today I've gone to bath in that river, and swimming is for the young people, bathing is for myself, and spirituality. I'll use it for cleansing and strengthening myself. And so I got that foundation in my mind from my first youth stages. The other aspect that really comes out strongly for myself is language, our Kwakwaka'wakw language. That's all I ever knew, and that's all I ever heard for the first 6 years of my life. And the community spoke it at all times. And yes, I did get introduced to English, but the primary language that I learned was our language. And so there again, I hold on to that as a foundation. As life went on, the use of the language was minimal, but at the same time, I remember what I can. And so there again is one of those, identity pieces, big identity pieces of who we are. And our language speaks to the relationship that we have with Mother Earth and our surroundings. And so when I hear these languages in our big house ceremonies, it serves its purpose. The other aspect too, when it comes to, the subject of aging and social and community relationships, it was a wonderment. It was awesome when our village, anytime we had activities, it was like the elders were always involved. Everybody was involved, the whole community, the youth, the children, and especially when we harvested fish or ulikins, the community came to life. And that's when I started to get this foundation of what is the value of family and community and the communal life. And it really came out strongly in my early days. And so I do remember walking the village and elders would be sitting in their own benches, and you take time out to go and visit them, and they would tell you stories and just be there. And so there was an unwritten role, I guess, that starts to be played out as to the role of elders in an isolated community. And so there again, it was expressed again in the big house. Elders had a place in the big house and was recognized as such. And so, like I say, for me, it was unwritten in my young days. And I guess the other aspects that started to be prevalent was good old sports. There was a soccer field that existed in our village, and so and a real wonderful sandy beach. So we did a lot of natural running and playing in the fields and playing on the beach. And then when we visited other villages, we would run shorelines there, and there's I guess driftwood logs at the shorelines, and we would be running those logs. And I guess from a sport point of view, I guess that's speed and agility, balance and decision making. And I guess we didn't call it that, we just called it fun and play. So there again, those were the foundations that I started to experience. And it contributed to, I guess, what I've been classified as an athlete, a sportsman. And so now I just connect those, I guess, cultural teaching, spirituality now to this the physical aspects of life. And today I'm really grateful that the Creator has given me the athletic abilities, because it's taken me around the world. It's done wonders for myself, my personal growth. And so I think about that, and today I'd like to think I'm fairly physically fit. And there again, that foundation has come from that history of sports and other work ethics and employment. And so with the sport world, it's really helped me with the self-esteem, and I know that racism in sport is still alive and well, but at the same time, for myself, I started to learn that I was better than that racism, and so it was helpful for me to contribute to my personal growth of how I see myself. So there again, the self-esteem question comes into play, and it really also helped with social acceptance, coming away from our reservations and going into urban communities and schools. The notion of acceptance is really important going into teenagehood and young students. And like I said, sport was there for me. I then translate that into the values of those abilities. I see, looking back on playing with young people today, I play with my grandchildren, soccer, competitive soccer, fun soccer. I play in seniors games, and there is those attributes, those lessons, lifelong lessons that you start to recognize. And once again, it feeds sort of a proud history, team affiliations and friendships and fun. So I look at that and I said, geez, it's still great medicine for myself to stay connected. And with the aging piece again, I said to myself, on a soccer field, what do I need to stay on that soccer field? Well, mobility, flexibilities, decision making. And that to me translates into, I guess, some of the, challenges that sometimes aging starts to bring to you. And I think about the simple example of flexibilities. And falling is our number one problem for the aged. And right now, I'd like to think that because of my flexibility, it minimizes my falling, and I could prevent, I guess, myself from being injured if I learn how to fall But there again, it's a simple example of mobility and going up and down stairs and stairwells. As simple as it sounds, that seems to be quite a task. The ability to still drive, the luxury of driving, there again, it really is accompanied by the mental well-being. How do I see myself? How do I remember? And how do I continue to search for exercising mental well-being? Well, that contributes to those other personal daily activities that we need to perform. And there again, aloneness and loneliness for, say, elders. How do I then use my mental abilities, to help me? And then it pulls in the emotional aspects of life. What's my feelings about life right now? And if you're feeling alone, what do I do with it? Well, I like to still think that I could have the strength to go outside and be with Mother Nature as it always was, to be outside physically walking as it always was. And there again, it's just one of those activities that I've experienced, and it's really helping me right now, I suppose, in my aging process. I guess there are so many other aspects that start to link up with the value of physical activity and culture and aging. With illnesses and ailments, I am challenged with having asthma, and I got it in my mid-50s. And there again, I because I was so athletical, and we know that we needed the lung capacity to perform. I guess the strength of that and the patience, the tolerance, has been really helpful for myself in accepting that ailment. At the same time, being very mindful of healing practices and taking care of your body, nutrition, allergies, and disciplining myself to, respond, to any wellness direction. The other area was a major one for myself, an open heart surgery. Took me to a place where I know the doctors kept saying, Alec, it's awesome your recovery and how quick you recovered, and they attributed that there again to the athletic world of my life and the work ethics that accompanied that. And there again, it's just one of those recognized values to help with, a wellness notion of being an elder and aging. And I guess I go with this, my own personal take on all of this is I don't see myself as aging in that sense. I'm only as old as I feel, and right now I continue to challenge myself, and I still enjoy a lot of things that I've done when I was young. So it's like there's hardly any distinction between that history and today. So the importance of physical activity, culture, mental, emotional wellness is all one package, and hopefully that's who I am. And once again, I warn my Fit Nation, and I'm encouraging everybody to stay fit and support one another and carry on.